Hey guys, welcome back. I hope that you are all well and having a good week so far. If you hear any heavy breathing or anything, it is not me, it is our black lab just down here, as so many of you know, staying with my parents at the moment, and he's so gorgeous, but he can be pretty noisy and he might be wanting food in a second, so hopefully he won't disturb us too much. But I'm just gonna get straight in. You'll see from the title, it's a Q&A. Thank you so much for everybody who asked me any questions. It was really interesting to see so many of you were asking along the same kind of line of question, so hopefully I can answer them all for you today. Okay, so most of them came from my Instagram, so I'm just gonna go through these on my phone, and then I also got a few on YouTube which I want to answer as well. So how old are you? I'm 27, I turned 27 March this year. So far it's been a really good age. I'm kind of liking my mid to late 20s. I thought that they'd be scary, but they're not. I'm enjoying them. Who takes your photos? Majority of them are taken by my boyfriend Ollie. He's an absolute star. Both really enjoy doing it together. We don't do that whole loads of outfits. We usually do it when we're out and about doing something. It's why there's been a lot less at the moment, because we're not living together. He's in London and I'm down in the southwest. So that's been a little harder, but then at the same time, my mum took this photo for me the other day. So just whoever I'm with, if Ollie isn't about. Okay, next, when do you plan it to move in? Love your renovation updates. Thank you. I think I got one similar to this as well, which was, let me find it. When do you plan to be done with your first round of renovations? So we really expected to be able to be finished around the April-May time with the downstairs. Obviously, that is the first part of the renovation that we wanted to do so that we could make it livable. I think that we're on track for that, but it's so hard. We're novices, we don't particularly know what we're doing, and as we're just doing it in the weekend, you never know what you're going to come up against or how long jobs are going to take. And it's not a case that we can spend the Monday evening catching up on things that we didn't do at the weekend. So we're hoping for May, fingers crossed. That would be really amazing. I think that we're going to make it, but the actual first round of renovations, so when we go upstairs to the top rooms and then to the middle floor and then back down to do the extension, years years and years. It's going to be probably quite a long time. Where would you recommend comfortable but stylish spring summer shoes? So many of you all know mint velvet, absolute favorite for shoes. I feel like they're quite overlooked, but they're so comfortable, especially if you're wanting a spring heel. Without doubt, one of my favorites. I feel like they really think about the support and the comfort, and that's so important to me. A new brand which I'm really loving that I've only just recently got into is Charles & Keith. Again, their quality is just amazing. I feel like their shoes really last, and they're such a good price point for the look and the quality. And then my two staple shoes that I bring out every spring would have to be my Castana wedges and also my Supergrad trainers, which I just wear all of the time. Okay, so next I'm gonna go into the question which I got the most of, which I've actually listed quite a few of them here because I wanted to bunch them together and hopefully answer them all in one go. They were, what do you do for a living? How did you get into YouTube, Instagram? Is it your full-time job now? What is your job? Hi Laura, would be interested to know a little more about your background, what you do now for a job, and how you got to this point. Love your channel, thank you. What is your full-time, or what was your full-time job before doing YouTube? You mentioned that you studied textiles. Can you please tell us more about your studies? So to hopefully answer all of those questions, I'm gonna whiz you right back to teenage Laura at A-levels. So I was always creative, knew that I wanted to do something in the creative field, and throughout my A-levels, I was researching universities that I wanted to go to, and I came across Central St. Martin's. So if you don't know, Central St. Martin's is based in London. It's where loads of top fashion designers came from, Alexandra McQueen to name one, and I wanted to be a fashion designer. I really wanted to get in and go there, and I was lucky enough to. I got accepted, couldn't believe it, I was absolutely ecstatic. So I think I was just turned 18 and I moved to London, and I lived in some university halls around the Clerkenwell area, and it was a huge year of growth, just so much growth, both within myself, living on my own in London, and also kind of with what I wanted to do, what I really wanted to push myself in my studies wise, and what I wanted to do after that as a living. And what I soon came to realize from that foundation year is that I really wanted a university experience, which I personally just didn't feel like I got in London. I don't know whether that was me, but a lot of the people who I was friends with on the course felt the same. So in my halls, I was on a floor of 8 and I only ever saw one person going in and out of the rooms. It was dead quiet, it wasn't at all sociable. And then my friends from the course were spread out all across London. And if you've ever lived in London, you'll know what a logistical nightmare it is when you're not living really near each other. It can be semi-close, but on the transport it takes like an hour, and it's just really hard if you're wanting to go for a night out, then it's near impossible to spend some grumbling down there, to not spend loads of money on taxis and then be staying at each other's place all of the time. So it made it quite difficult to get that university experience. And so I decided for my degree I wanted to look outside London. I looked at a few universities and I decided on Loughborough University, and I'm so glad I did. Had the best 3 years of my life. I absolutely adored it, everything about it, the campus feel, the friends that I made friends for life. Obviously met Ollie there, and the course was absolutely amazing. So I don't know if it was from the beginning of when I started the course, but I know when I finished the course that Loughborough was #1 in the country for textiles. So I was in exceedingly good hands whilst I was there, especially on the learning front. And so yeah, I did textiles, absolutely loved it, and on that course I specialised down into weave, from print and weave. I did a bit of both on the course, but I specialised down onto weave. And I was really lucky to do quite well in the course. I came out with a first class honours degree, and I was chosen to exhibit. They do this exhibition in London which is called New Designers, and it's where you can showcase your final collection. So I'll try and pop up some pictures, but my final collection was a very watercoloured. It was very different. I did an ICAT kind of design, which is where I painted onto the warp. It was quite striking and it was quite different. And so I had my work up on display, and lots of different companies from so many, Designers Guild, John Lewis, all of the companies that you can think of, come and look around and look out for new designs and new kind of artists or designers that they would like to pick up. And I was exceedingly lucky to win an award there. So they also host awards, and I won the Harlequins New Designers Award, which was just, again, something that I am exceedingly proud of. And so that really elevated me. I got my portfolio viewed by a number of big companies and lots of people who wanted to buy my designs. And I spent the next year after that, it was such a whirlwind, but creating my own brand, which I called Melhuish-Sprague. And again, I'm just looking back on it, very proud of what I achieved. I actually did a collaboration with Made.com, as so many of you may know. And I was stocked in lots of beautiful boutiques and shops, like you may know, like Amara.com. So it was an exceedingly exciting year. Things went really quickly, and I think that is unfortunately where I kind of stepped away from it, because I really started to not enjoy it. I remember a lot of people, a lot of brands saying, oh, we can't wait to see what else you bring out new, we can't wait to see. And I felt this immense amount of pressure. And I also had, which is going a little bit in depth with it, which I don't want to do too much today, but I had kind of an investor come along who was looking at getting my designs made to be manufactured and kind of put out as a product on the high street instead of like the handmade kind of thing, because I think those are the two routes that you can go down. And at that point I decided that I didn't really want to be on the handmade route. I much wanted to be more on the high street route, and I just found it, like, again, it was a very difficult experience. I'm still very young to be not just designing a product, but actually looking at making it feasible for the mass markets. And I just, when I started to not enjoy it, I decided that I really wanted to pull away from it. Ollie was just finishing university, and I was living with my parents at the time, whilst I kind of built the brand, and I decided that I wanted to pull back on it and look for a job in London. And that's exactly what I did, and I ended up falling more into something different. I really didn't want to do textiles because it's quite difficult when you create something and it's your baby, and I'd nurtured this brand and absolutely loved it for a year, and it's something that I always felt like I might go back to. So it didn't feel right to be designing textiles for somebody else and sitting there and perhaps giving my designs to another company. So I decided I didn't want to do textiles, and I looked down into another route, and a job came up within fragrance, and it was designing, and I absolutely loved fragrance. It was in home fragrance, so the candles, diffusers, and it was designing for an own brand and also their brand, which I loved. So that is what I was doing throughout my whole stint in London, and what I did, as you guys kind of say, before YouTube, and I loved it. I adore fragrance, and especially home fragrance and candles. I have so many of them, and again, I got to work with other brands, I got to be really creative, and it was just a super fun job. And so that kind of takes me up until now, and yes, I am currently doing YouTube full-time. However, I don't think it will be my full-time job. I think I'm always going to have other things on the side, whether that's going to Melhuish-Sprague a bit again, or Ollie and I kind of have something in the background which we're working on as well. So yeah, I think I'll always dabble in other bits, but I absolutely adore doing YouTube and fashion, and I'm really looking forward to doing more interiors and home stuff going forward, and just seeing where it all goes, because I quite enjoy it. But at the moment, I've been finding it just a little bit difficult because most of my stuff is in boxes. When I'm doing styling videos, I'm looking through boxes, and everything's taking a lot longer. So I can't wait until I have a proper space to be able to do things, and I'm a little bit more settled, because I'm hoping to be putting out a lot more content, and I think I'll feel a lot more proud of the channel and calling it my full-time job. And I've just realised that whilst editing now, after rambling on for ages, I didn't actually answer one of the questions, which was how I got into Instagram and blogging. And it was a follow through from Melhuish-Sprague. So I had an Instagram account with Melhuish-Sprague, which did really quite well. I actually had a picture go up. So this is my artwork or my designs at one of my shows, and Apartment Therapy put up a picture, which was really kind of them. They have about, I think at the time that they did it, they had still like a million followers or something ridiculous. So that kind of escalated me with my Instagram, and it also just gave me the bug for it slightly. I started putting up more pictures of myself, and they started doing really well, and it kind of just continued from there. Whew. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded and kind of extreme, but I felt like there are a lot of questions to answer in that bit, and I know I kind of briefly went over quite a few of them, but if you want to know any more in depth or ask me any more questions, then just let me know below and I'll try and answer any that I can. Okay, so moving on, what do you do when you feel overwhelmed with house projects? Talk it through. Definitely, I'm a talker and I'm a list writer. I have to write things down. Whether I've done this list 1,000,001 times, I will still do it. I think it drives Ollie mad because he's not a list writer, and I just like to go over and over and over again. Knowing what I'm prioritizing, knowing what needs to be done first. I think as long as I know what needs to be prioritized, I'm absolutely fine, and it kind of takes me away from that feeling of being overwhelmed. And also just looking at the wider life situation, I always try and think of that and think, look, it's not life or death. I'm fine, I'm here, I'm healthy, I'm doing all right. Try not to worry about it, and kind of taking that step back all of the time I think is really important. Do you have any favorite clothing items from when you were little? I'll pop up some pictures. I probably have quite a few, to be honest. I don't think I had one item that I absolutely loved. I think I quite often love to be kind of starkers, totally naked in the garden. I'd rip off all of my clothes. I'm hoping that most babies do though. Definitely not like that now. I love dresses, and I also loved bright colours. Another question which I also got asked a lot was, do you miss London? Do you miss London life? And I don't honestly feel like I can answer that one yet, because I don't think it's quite been long enough, and also it's been a very different change, because obviously in London I was living with Ollie and I kind of had like the independence of our own flat, and at the moment I've moved back in with my parents until the house is renovated, and Ollie's kind of still up in London. So until Ollie's back and we're living in the house, I don't think I'll know. But so far, no, I haven't. Life is so easy down here. I feel really relaxed. It's so nice being around family and being able to see family a lot more. Obviously really nice to have our own house and have loads of space, which we would have never have got in London. And I've been to London, I think, nearly every 2 or 3 weeks at the moment, so I still feel like I'm there quite a lot. But it was something that I really worried about when thinking about leaving London and making the choice whether to leave, and to be honest, it was definitely the right decision to do, so I hope that that helps. My camera battery just died, so hopefully you haven't moved around too much. Next up, what is your favorite fashion label? I don't know, I'm guessing by label you're meaning kind of high end. Love Chanel and Dior, but I'd probably have to say Dior because I recently went to see the exhibition at V&A. It was just so stunning. I felt like every single piece was very me, apart from a few which were a little bit way out, but they were just so beautiful and feminine, and probably the most stunning dresses I've ever seen, and well recommend seeing that if you can get in. But if you weren't talking about high end, I'd probably say Suzanne. I'm loving Suzanne at the moment. How much money do you spend on clothes per month? I also got some other questions on this line, which were how do you budget, or do you get gifted a lot of things, and how do you have the money to do your hauls? So as far as budget, I definitely don't set a budget, but I do put aside everything that I need. So for my mortgage, my bills, anything that I know that I have coming up, like my car tax or anything like that, I obviously set aside, pay that first, then anything that I have left over. But I'm an absolute child, I don't own a credit card, so I'm never going into debt or into an overdraft or anything like that. Just have a debit card, so it's literally just what's left over, and I tend not to spend all of that. I think probably maybe looking at my channel, it seems really excessive with everything that I buy, but a lot of the hauls, I don't keep everything. I keep what I really feel like I need in my wardrobe. After every haul, I always look at my wardrobe and see if I'm needing any of those pieces, if any of them overlap with what I currently have, if I know that I'm really going to wear them and utilize them. So probably the amount that I spend is a lot less than you think. And as far as gifting, to be honest, I'm really not gifted a lot at all. I'm still quite small in this whole realm of things, and I'm not in touch with any companies. I've not approached any companies myself because it's not something that I felt the need to do. So no, I don't. To be honest, I very rarely get gifted anything. What belongs in your capsule wardrobe for spring? I've got a video coming up on that in the next few weeks, but just very quickly, probably a shirt dress or a long sleeve dress. Definitely some trainers, some nice jeans, a lightweight jacket, but I will cover all of that in a video soon. Do you ever get told that you look like Kate Middleton? All of the time, all of the time. Yeah, I get it all of the time. It's strange because I find it quite awkward. I take it as a compliment because I think Kate's very pretty and I like her as a person, which I think makes a difference. But at the same time, I never know what to say back. I'm quite a shy person, so I always kind of say thank you, and then I don't know what to say, or oh, thanks. I don't know. Just, yeah, quite awkward about that question. What is your favorite perfume? Definitely can't pick one. I actually picked out a few. I haven't got them all here, but probably my favorite newest one is the Penhaligon's Halfetti. Absolutely love it, but it is very extortionate. And then La Labo, I think you call it La Labo or La Labo, I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. Another 13, I got this in the Liberty Advent Calendar. It's so beautiful. I really like the kind of deeper, muskier scents when it comes to fragrances. And probably my two longest term favorites would be the Jo Malone with Sage and Sea Salt mixed with Dark Amber and Ginger Lily. Now I'm going on to just a few which I got onto YouTube. So the first one is, I love your style, thank you. Do you thrift at all? If so, what are some tips? And what do you look for when thrifting? So I have thrifted a lot recently for the house. So I don't know if you're talking specifically about fashion or interiors, but everything that we've bought for the house has been secondhand. That's right from the white goods in the bathroom to the toilet, sink, shower, our kitchen was secondhand. Lots of furniture pieces, everything we've bought secondhand, and I usually just go on the buy and sell websites and type in my top brands, so Loaf, Swoon, anything like that, and then keywords I do actually keep an eye on. Right now I'm looking for a French style glass cabinet. So I definitely say that I love that side of things, but I definitely haven't transferred it so much at the moment over to fashion, and I think that has literally just been time when I was working full-time in London as well as doing my Instagram and YouTube. Time was just, I didn't have time to go into shops, and very rarely actually went into shops. And in the UK, we call it kind of charity shops, and you do need that time to go through and look through the clothing. As I often find that if I'm wanting something, I usually just go onto a website online and order it. But it is something that I want to do a lot more of and make some content on it. So if you have any ideas for that, let me know. But I think it's great. I think it's something that really YouTubers, influencers should be doing a lot more, wearing stuff from their wardrobe and charity shop or thrift shopping. And that one actually leads me quite nicely into the next one, which is love your style, and it's very similar to mine. Again, thank you. What is your stance on the subject with fashion influencers and or bloggers about excessive hauls, fast fashion and the harshness it's causing on our environment? What is your perspective as a blogger? So it's definitely something that I'm very conscious of and do want to start implementing more into my videos, and it's something that I've been thinking about moving forward. I myself am still quite small, I'd say, like I'm a micro influencer. So on the two sides of it, I think with influencers it's quite difficult because on one side there's this gifting aspect, and as I said earlier, I barely get gifted anything. So if you guys had watched a vlog for me for a month or so, I'd say I might get one item come through the door, and it's something that I've probably picked If a company's got in touch with me, I'll have picked something and it's something that I know that I'm going to use and wear and love. And so on that side of things, I can't mention on the waste because I've never had the products and I've never had the packaging wastage. And then on the other side, there's the hauls. And for me, the hauls is really showing people about what's in the stores, the trends and styling of them. And I think this aspect can be very difficult because it can get quite overwhelming, especially for a viewer. And I'd say that I'm still kind of like half in that viewer perspective because I'm a much smaller influencer. And I do remember when before I was an influencer, I really thought that I needed designer handbags. Like that was it. I just kept seeing people buying these designer handbags every season. The new handbag would come out. And as I got into it, I mean, I have one designer handbag. I have my Gucci Soho, which you guys will know and see that I wear time and time again. I've got so much use out of that bag. It has been well worth it. But kind of after that, I stepped back and I thought, I'm not really a designer handbag kind of girl. I'm not really that into designer handbags. I think there are so many good ones on the street. Is it really what I want to be spending my money on? And I kind of had to step back and really think about what I wanted instead of thinking about what I thought I needed. And I think that's a really interesting kind of perspective to take it from, because it is about knowing when you have to step back and not just going with that initial, I want that, like lusting feeling that you get when you see something that you want. And it is quite strong and powerful, and I think that is hard on influencers because they hold that. For me with hauls, I really do hope that as the viewers, they're seeing what's coming in the stores. I do a lot of trends and styling, and those videos do have a lot of items in them. As I mentioned, I don't keep them all. I always pay for my postage back and forth whenever I'm doing it, so I do feel a little bit better on that point. And I constantly say throughout all of my videos about the wearability of the items and the classicness, how they're going to stay in the wardrobe, how they're going to blend with other items, and also the quality of them. And I think that is really important when people are doing these hauls. So I hope as an influencer that my audience are picking up those items that are going to be their absolute staples for the core of their wardrobe, that they'll wear time and time again. I really don't want my viewers to be buying things that I'm suggesting and they're getting bored of them after a few minutes, or the pieces are falling off or things like that. So that's really important to me because it's the kind of things that I'm mentioning. I mean, my friends watch my videos and family members watch my videos. I think that's one important side of it, but definitely I think the hardest part of it is the overwhelming amount of consumption. But to kind of sum that up, yes, I do think that it's excessive. I myself have felt overwhelmed as a viewer, and I think the most important thing to do is that if you are conscious of it and that you want to be better of it, is to follow the people that you truly feel are giving you the best advice, suit your style, and that don't make you feel pressured into buying things you don't want or need. Lastly, because I've probably talked for far too long now, is where is your surname from? It doesn't sound traditionally English. Love your content, by the way. Thank you. Well, actually, you'll probably be surprised to know Melhuish-Sprague. So many people ask me about my surname, where it's from, how it's pronounced, that kind of thing. So Melhuish used to be a small hamlet in Devon back in like medieval times, I think. I'm not kind of 100% sure. I should find this out, it'd be quite interesting. So I couldn't be much more from my roots with that one, as I was born and bred in Devon. So with that one, Devonshire through and through. And then Sprague, I feel like it is Scandinavian, but actually within Devon, we know quite a few people with the surname Sprague. So I feel like it must have kind of originated here or somehow come from Scandinavia to this part of England. And I think that is most of the questions that I was asked. I did kind of categorize them down a little bit so that I could get them all into this video. I hope that you guys found it interesting. I actually found it really interesting seeing how many people kind of were interested in quite specific things. So you were obviously all quite interested in my career and about London and that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, I hope you've got to know me a little bit better. Actually, it would be really nice if you could all leave like your names and a little bit about yourselves, perhaps where you're from or what you do as a job below. I'd love to know, or like how long you've been following me, that kind of thing, because I was so interested to see the questions that you asked. And it feels really weird to have just talked about myself for a little while, so it'd be really nice to get to know you guys a little bit more. And yeah, I will see you all in next week's video. Bye. Oh, and I've got to show you the cutie that is snoring behind me, or has been snoring by me this whole time. Hey, this is beautiful Benson. Gosh, I love him far too much.